Cape Town International Airport, we were picked up by Tim Harris, a friend of mine who also runs a well-established company. If you're interested in doing a tour of the Western Cape with him, check out these details in the description. This was only the third time in a decade when I saw Tim, and we were so busy chatting on the way between the airport and Somerset West that I forgot to make a video. The clip you're currently seeing is one that Tim made later during another airport pickup. Our first stop was in Strand, a town near Somerset West, where we picked up an order from Greensmiths, a family-run business producing vegan products. I can highly recommend their gluten-free waffles and vegan patties. After picking up our order, we went with Tim to Helderberg College, where I did my BA degree and where Tim and his family currently live. They provided us with a delicious, nutritious vegan meal before Tim dropped us off at Boskloof Eco Estate, where our guest house, Vrede Selfcatering, is located. Let's have a look at the room. It's very nicely decorated. Big, comfortable king-size bed. And it's a washing machine. You've got even a dishwasher, kettle and microwave oven. There's an air fryer. There's a 2-plate stove and a toaster. And then on this side you've got plenty of storage space. And the bathroom is very nice and spacious. Got lots of windows, and you can pull down this blind. On the other side is the same. You even have a nice plant in the bathroom, and there's plenty of towels, big, very nice, soft, comfortable towels. So it's really a wonderful place to have a holiday. And then when you go out, there's also a nice mosquito shield here before you get to the door. And up here, especially in the mornings and the afternoons, you can relax. After a relaxing afternoon and shaking off some jet lag from a long flight, we enjoyed a homemade meal over sunsets from the guest house. With the guest house being located higher up in the estate, we had a splendid view of Somerset West, Strand Beach and Table Mountain in the distance. The next morning I went for a walk down to the dam in Boskloof Eco Estate with the hope of seeing an African fish eagle. Greg, the guest house owner, sent me a list of bird species that have been recorded in the estate, and African fish eagles was one of the species that I particularly wanted to see. But unfortunately I had no luck in finding one. The walk through this beautiful eco estate was still well worth it though. As you can see, it's very peaceful and quiet. Some wildlife I managed to get footage of included duiker, which is a small omnivorous deer. Duikers primarily feed on leaves, shoots, seeds, fruit, buds and bark. although their diet also includes insects, rodents, and small birds. An impressive raptor that frequents the estate is a jackal buzzard. Jackal buzzards are the largest buzzards in South Africa and can weigh up to 1.34 kilos with a maximum wingspan of 1.44 meters. This makes them bigger than some eagle species, and some people may confuse them for eagles, although jackal buzzards can be distinguished from eagles by their unfeathered lower legs. Boskloof Eco Estate is home to several Cape weavers. These are polygynous birds with males mating up to 7 females in a single breeding season. Males have to earn females' favor though by building multiple nests of good quality that are fully waterproof. Each female will test her nest by pulling on the interior material. If they're not satisfied, they'd rip the nest apart and the male has to start all over again. Males weave nests together from grass and reeds, with each nest taking about a week to complete. Sometimes strong winds can blow nests from trees, and I came across one such nest during my walk. The shape of this particular nest reminds me of the clogs that Dutch people wear. Cape Canaries is another beautiful bird that can be seen in Boskloof. From a distance, the untrained eye may confuse them for Cape weavers, although their maximum size of 13 centimeters is much smaller than that of Cape weavers that average 18 centimeters. Unlike Cape weavers, Cape Canaries are monogamous, and it's females rather than males building the nests, and they take 2 to 3 weeks to build the nest. Another bird I got footage of during my walk was a malachite sunbird. Unfortunately, I did not see an adult male in its splendid glossy green plumage. The one seen in the picture is a juvenile. Unlike hummingbirds that hover in the air while collecting nectar, sunbirds mostly collect nectar while perched. In our last episode, I mentioned to you a little bit about South African money. So before going on a boat cruise today, I thought I'd share with you a little bit more about the history of South African money. Here we have the first coin from 1932, a 2.5 shilling coin. Next to it there you see a 1 shilling coin from 1941, followed by a 2 shilling coin from 1949. And beneath that you have 2 much bigger coins, 1948 and 1950, both 5 shilling coins. Now you can see the one on the left is in far worse condition than the one on the right. It's 2 years older. So which one do you think would be worth more if you sell it today? Well, if you said the one of 1950, that's correct. Because unless a coin was minted in a year where there were very few minted, then the condition is a greater determining factor than the age of the coin. In 1961, South Africa switched to a rand and cent system. Now, if you want to determine how many shillings were there in a rand or cents, let's see how they did it back in 1961. So 5 shillings was equivalent to the old 50 cents. In other words, if you look at 1 rand, that was about 10 shillings. There's also a 20-cent coin there. That would have been about 2 shillings. And can you remember the name of the person's face on that coin? Many people would say Jan van Riebeeck. Well, that's what they thought, the founder of South Africa. But later on they discovered, as you've seen, is actually Bartholomew Vermeyden. Now on to the current money, where we have Nelson Mandela's face. That's a 100 rand note. And look at the size of the 1 rand, how it shrunk compared to the old 1 rand. The boat trip we're going on will cost us 350 rand each. And if we want to determine how much it would have been back in 1948, well, the buying power of a shilling back in 1948 was the same as about 100 rand today. So back in those days, it would have cost 17.5 shillings, which is less than £1, to go on the same boat trip. That's going to cost us 350 rand today. Well, I think that's enough about money. Let's go out and enjoy the boat cruise. Some friends picked us up at Boskloof in the late afternoon, and we took a 15-kilometer drive with them to Gordons Bay Yacht Club. On the way, they told us something very interesting that most people don't know about the GB emblem on a mountain formed out of stones painted white. Many people assume that GB is short for Gordons Bay, when in fact it stands for General Botha. Although I learned this as a young boy when we lived in the Strand, I did not know that the name General Botha in this case was not that of a person, but one of a naval station. After arriving at Gordons Bay Yacht Club, we saw Gijs, the owner of the boat Old Brown, that we'd be taking the sunset cruise on, waiting for us. Gijs is a friendly Afrikaner that can speak fluent English as well. I'd highly recommend going on a trip with him, especially since it's much cheaper than other cruises departing from Gordons Bay. Other cruise operators jack up their prices by including alcoholic beverages and food, but with Gijs's cruise, you can bring your own food and drinks. If, like us, you do not drink alcohol either, it's another good reason to go for a cruise on Old Brown. Although the boat isn't very big, there was plenty of room for the four of us, and the boat can actually carry up to 8 passengers. Gijs gave us a safety briefing before we started the cruise from the yacht club. Although we were in the middle of summer, it was a rather windy afternoon, and we were glad that we brought some jackets to keep us warm in the wind. Breathing in fresh coastal air was very refreshing, especially for us used to polluted city air in Hong Kong. We saw a number of seals and sea lions, with some sea lions coming very close to the boat. The sea lion you can see in the video can be distinguished from seals by its visible ears. Seals' ears cannot be seen, and also the skin on its flippers with short claws. Seals have furry flippers with long claws. We were told that a cruise would last between 2 and 2.5 hours, but Gijs generously made it 3 hours. We enjoyed a splendid sunset to which the video cannot do justice. It's something you really have to experience for yourself. We were also told that when there's no wind, there are often dolphins around, and that one can get close to whales in the whale season. Despite not seeing these giants of the sea, we had a wonderful cruise, and we thank you for coming along. See you in the next episode.